Yeah, there's a long waiting period.
That, my friends, is a run-out groove in the middle of the side. Pick this up.
So
Fun.
yeah, so here, let me, yeah, so, you know, that's what it sounds like when you try to play it.
That's what a record looks like when it's spinning at 78, folks.
The Seek Office Lounge of the fabulous
See? But did you see how much manual labor was involved there? So anyway, that was fun. It's like, you know what, guys? I mean, now in today's digital world, can you imagine going through that just to listen to a song? You know. So now we go to side 2. And this one starts with one of the better songs on the album, one of the best songs on the album, probably. It's a ballad. It's got strings, but it's also got great acoustic guitar lines. And you can hear, like, the bass is using a tube amp. You can kind of hear as he's doing. Here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Just have that compressed sound.
I can hear the bass. The song does sound good. I think the strings will fit in well with the song.
I think I was wrong. Those are electric guitars. That's where I'm getting hung up. And those electric guitars use tube amps. You can kind of hear when they hit the strings to quickly mute them while they're playing. You can hear through that. You can hear that it's going through a tube amp. There's that compression, that warm compression you get. You know, and it sounds beautiful. There's some great stuff happening with the vocals and everything. It's just a very ethereal piece that really works pretty well, actually. It's one of the most successful tracks on the album.
Yeah, it's definitely a good one. There's almost too much production, but it's not too much production. The strings fit in very well.
Riding the edge. I think you're right, though. It's like just enough. There's the strings swell towards the end, kind of sometimes like, oh, that's ease up, guys. But that's as far as they go, and it's not so bad, really. It works.
Yeah, I think the guitars are great in this song.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, this is the track that survived the California sessions. So, and it's like I say, it's probably the best track on the album. But so very cool stuff. I just love that sound. Anyway, so
a little vibrato sound with the guitar.
Yeah, he's doing this too a little bit. I think, or maybe it's with the. I don't think they had like a Floyd Rose or anything. I think they were just doing that, you know, with the strings.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
Great stuff. So anyway, that's my favorite track on the album. And now we've got Motorcycle Irene, which, as it happens, is probably Skip's best song on the record. A short and somewhat hilarious but gruesome take on, on a motorcycle.
Yeah, well, I was thinking, a simple if macabre story that's easy to follow.
Yeah. Well, the best part is that it ends in the crash, you know. And with the sound effects.
River in a mouth. Flower over 18
Nice going, Irene. Nice going.
Too bad.
Yeah, that's the way the cookie crumbles. That's the way the bike bounces. Okay, the next one is called 3-4. This actually gets my my vote for one of the weakest songs on the record, not because of the lyrics, but because of the strange timing on the verses.
The time signature changes. It could work for or against the song, depending on how you see it.
That's right. That's right. And I have found that if I'm just playing the record and not really paying much attention, that it doesn't bother me nearly as much. But if I'm listening carefully, then it drives me nuts. So here, we'll show you what we mean.
Please don't worry about me, and I'll take care of thee. Just think of me, and I'll be there. Leave your troubles behind and don't think so love is with you.
So the verses go 7-6-6-6 for the so it's a waltz, except for the first line of each verse, which is in 7/4. But if you put that aside, the rest of the song sounds nice. It's okay, you know. And it's okay if you're not paying much attention. I believe this brings us to the next Skip Spence kind of funny song. It's kind of funny. Yeah, it's kind of amusing. I mean, you know, I never turn it off, but I don't know if it needed a whole song either. But so here they learn that you can speed the tape up or slow the tape down while you're recording and do really interesting things with your vocals on it. So.
Kind of need the lyric sheet.
Oh, yeah.
Because of this.
Well, here.
Well, I've seen the lyrics, and because of that, I think the sped up part is supposed to be like the woman who the song is being sung to, I guess.
Yeah. That could.
First the guys singing, and then there's the sped up singing. And I wonder if that was the only way that the vocalists, I guess it would be Skip.
Yeah, probably.
Probably the only way he could reach the notes that high.
Well, he's probably saying, "Where are you going?"
Yeah, it was a good idea, though.
It was a good idea. Although I do think it's another one of those joke songs that wears thin, you know, kind of quickly.
Yeah.
At least these days. Maybe back then you had time, you know, before the internet. So yeah, okay. Props to Skip, but really this was kind of this would have been a good B-side that didn't make the album.
Yeah, nice, happy little tune, I think.
Yeah. At least it's upbeat. And it is kind of fun. So, okay, fine, you know. So the next song on here is called Rose-Colored Eyes. And Bob Mosley apparently wrote it for his girlfriend named Rose. It's a really kind of an ominous song with, I have here like a majestic mood. It really, it gives
haunting.
Yeah.
The beginning of it, especially.
Yeah. It creates this universe, and the lyrics are a little depressing. It may also have been kind of a statement of all the lessons that he learned that year. I mean, granted, sure, his girlfriend, but also his own life, because this was a year of what should have been monumental success, kind of turning into monumental mediocrity and failure and things going wrong, and you know, it had to have been rough. Anyway, but it is a majestic piece, and this is one of those tracks that you can't miss as a Moby Grape fan. It's got such a great mood. Let's hear some of that. And I love the tremolo at the beginning, and maybe playing with the volume. Acoustic guitar and electric guitar doing the. That's a 12-string acoustic. I love when musicians can play around with time like that, just naturally. But it's just so cool like that. I love the mood. And then they've got this middle part. It's a little funny, and it's kind of talking about hassles, I guess, going around to small towns. Like some of the stuff I heard in there was long-haired hippie freak, or
yeah,
you know, do your thing, stray cat, and you know, stuff like that. Just like locals telling them to get lost.
And here's an interesting part to it. Towards the end, there's at first I thought it was a drum, but I think it might have been, they might just be slapping the bass, perhaps, and you know, just dampening the string so it doesn't actually play, but you hear the thump, thump, thump.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I think that. Well.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah, it could be any number of objects.
Yeah.
It could be an acoustic bass.
It could be a suitcase.
Yep.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it could be a suitcase. It could be an instrument case.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful stuff. Love that.
I like the guitars in this song.
Yeah. Something that was interesting and engaging and maybe played with timing a little, but didn't upset the mood you were trying to create.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so that brings us to Miller's Blues. Well, this is basically a blues track. I mean, with horns,
Yeah.
as so many of these tracks have.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Electric Flag, or when I first started hearing the song. Anyway, just started thinking of the Electric Flag, and
Yeah.
it's interesting because Mike Bloomfield of the Electric Flag plays on Grape Jam, but he doesn't
right,
play
yeah.
on this album.
That's
But
right.
For a second, I thought I was hearing Mike Bloomfield play or something. And this was before I found out that he actually was on the other album.
Yeah.
I was thinking, God, this sounds like something the Electric Flag would do. It even sounds like Mike Bloomfield playing the guitar.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they must have all been friends.
Yeah. Yeah, they were friends. And yeah, it's possible they just sort of picked it up or something off of hanging out with each other. Or whatever.
Very likely. Yeah. I mean, that happens all the time. You play with people and you start to pick up their licks a little bit,
Yeah.
So, and they were all simpatico, apparently. I mean, if he's showing up, he and Al Cooper, who went on to Super Session, the next.
Oh, yeah. Super Session. That's right. Yeah, we're both on that, too.
Yeah. So it's a kind of a standard blues. There's a little bit of it, but kind of reminds me a little of some of the things the Allman Brothers would try later. Like it reminds me of the outskirts of town or something.
Yeah, I could hear the Allman Brothers doing something like this.
Sure. Yeah. I think it's also similar to some of the Grape Jam stuff without lyrics, though. So kind of like that, and they even pick it up. That's why it reminds me of the Almonds so much.
Yeah.
But of course, this predates the Almonds by over 2 years. So, I mean, in terms of their recording career. So, but they probably listened to the Grape. I mean, wouldn't surprise me one bit.
No, it was thrilling to listen to. And yeah, again, just hearing the guitar solo, especially, but also hearing the horns. It just sounds so much like the Electric Flag.
Yeah, totally. Okay, well,
I mean, as a compliment.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there weren't that many horns in rock and roll at this particular moment in history.
I think in '68, a long time coming was released.
Oh, okay, so it wasn't out yet. Yeah, so I know that the Electric Flag had played at Monterey. So,
they did.
And that's 2 months before they started recording this. So, yeah, could have been an influence.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we come along to the last track on here, which is a remake of a song that was on the first album, Naked If I Want To, another Jerry Miller. Now, on the first album, it was an acoustic track with everybody singing the harmonies throughout. Nice little track, and it worked beautifully on that album. This time, it's more of an energetic electric track.
A really short tune with I think some sort of clever lyrics.
Yeah, it's the same lyrics even, and it's like the same length. It's just this tiny little track at the end of a side. But yeah, so here it is. Now this version, again, it's electric, doesn't have any harmonies in it. So it's very different.
Yeah, it's about a minute long, I think. It's the last minute on the album.
And I walk down the street, naked if I want to. And I pop fireworks on the 4th of July.
Sounds like George Harrison's fuzz guitar. Yeah, so honestly, I like the one on the first album better, but it's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that guitar sounded like the George Harrison guitar on the song "Think for Yourself."
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
While we're here, let me go ahead and play you a little piece of the one on the first album. So yeah, I prefer that particular version, but it's kind of,
I think I do too.
yeah. I mean, they tried to tie in the records, I think.
Yeah.
It was a tie-in, but yeah. Hey, props to them for trying new things and experimenting and trying to make something really interesting happening while there's a whole bunch of chaos going on around them. And like I said, even though this album has a lot of tracks that I probably wouldn't listen to if I were just listening to songs, but listening to the whole album, they're fine. Like for some reason, this set of songs works just fine within itself. And like I say, I can play it on repeat, several times and not get sick of it because it's always interesting.
Yeah, there was a lot of experimentation on this album. Some of it worked and some didn't. It's kind of, kind of see the learning process going on.
Yeah.
You hear it, when you listen to the album.
Yeah, well, again, Pepper had just come out too, and they were just dying to try new things and try to make things happen. And you can really hear that. It's just that there was no control over the proceedings, or not the kind of control they needed, or maybe the feedback. Maybe they weren't in the right frame of mind for various reasons.
Well, yeah, partying at a beach house in California.
Yeah.
Buffalo, Springfield.
But even before that, making this absolutely amazing album and having it fall on its face, getting invited to the Monterey Pop Festival and somehow missing out on getting into the film and getting your set recorded, which was something they were dying to get the bands to do. It shouldn't have been that hard to work it out, but I think the manager had something to do with that too.
It kind of makes me think of, I know this is much later, Anvil. They have a similar streak of luck as what the Moby Grape had, apparently.
Yeah. Although they finally were able to battle back with a documentary.
Yeah.
Overall, I would say if you are a Moby Grape fan, by all means, get this record and have it in your collection, because there are some tracks that you just really can't miss out on. The ones that I would say are the very best are The Bitter Wind up until you get to the coda. That first track on side 2, and Rose Colored Eyes. Now I know they're all kind of downbeat tracks, those three, but I think they're the ones that succeed at the highest level.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, a lot of these other tracks work just fine as things to listen to and be entertained by. Even Skip songs that are kind of the funny, like the Gene Autry thing and the funky tongue. It's like, okay, good enough. But really, it would have been nice to have some other better material in there instead. But I think maybe that's all he could manage at the time,
Yeah.
I don't want to presume to know what was going on, what kind of pressures,
Yeah, it's too bad that they didn't move on from there. I guess they released a couple other albums or something. It would have been nice if they just kept releasing albums, and they would have caught on, I think.
Well,
eventually.
I mean, the big problem there, they should have and they could have, but really the manager problem ended up being insurmountable because they had tried to fire him, and that's when it got to be a serious battle. And it's like he said, you know what? I'm going to devote my life to making sure you guys never have a moment of glory. So, yeah, it was just rough, and of course, Skip suffered from it. And, I'm sure the partying was partially motivated by the fact that things were not going well. 69 is a great album. It is, it's a while before they come up with another one that's as good as this. In fact, they really only had a few more after this, not very many. Truly Fine Citizen came out. That's not a very good record. It's only 3 of them left by that time. And they had a deadline of 3 days to record and mix the whole thing under a no-nonsense producer in Nashville. And it's not very good. It's okay, but it's not very good. I would kind of pass it. But then 20 Granite Greek came out in 1971, and that one had Skip Spence come back. Still not as good as the earlier stuff. Pretty strong, though, pretty amazingly strong, and just considering all the circumstances. But that was kind of their last hurrah. After that, we have a live album from 1978. It's called Live Grape. I've got that one. And that's, again, I think 3 of the guys made it on the recording, although they occasionally all did play together. And then after that, oddly enough, they had an album produced by Matthew Katz, who happens to be the manager guy, in 1984. I don't know how that came about. I've never even heard that album, but it didn't go anywhere. And then in the late 80s, I believe, or maybe the mid 80s, they put out what is their last bit of music that I know of, which was another 10-song cassette, which came out on CD. And there's a good Skip Spence song on that one, too. That was it. That's all they ever mustered, unfortunately. So I would recommend the first 3 albums the most, and then maybe 20 Granite Creek. But overall, I think I'd probably have to give this album about 3.5 stars. There's so much potential here. You can hear it in The Place and the Time, the very first track. They've got the creativity. They've got the ideas. They just needed to have somebody who could sit down and say, okay, well, wait, there's too much going on here. They could have had so many great songs, I think, if they'd had somebody there to help kind of sculpt it along. Still, it's worth having in your collection.
I'm glad we did this album, and it's been pretty thrilling to, just to listen to it and educate myself, get hip to it.
Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of the Wow album. And if you have any thoughts on it, share them with us below. We'd love to hear your comments. And if you wouldn't mind maybe giving a like and subscribing to our channel so you can hear more of us taking on various bands of various times in history. We hope you enjoyed it. Okay, well, so with that, I think we're going to say farewell, and we'll see you next time. All right, take care, folks.
See y'all later.